The November statistics for the Canadian real estate market confirmed one thing, that we are in a downtrend. We'll be reviewing what some of those numbers are, but more specifically, we got a report out of an RBC Economist that there is actually a situation where the tables have turned. And he is predicting that in two different markets, they have actually flipped from a seller's market to now a buyer's market. So we'll be looking at that in further detail. But if this is your first time here, my name's Nick. Welcome to Ways to Wealth. Before we get into the video, huge favor, huge ask. If you learn something new or you get some value, hit that like button. I definitely appreciate that. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on. We do content like this every single Sunday, so make sure you come back then. We're going to take a look at what the most blatant, most obvious statistic is, and that's the fact that Canadian housing market falls deeper into a correction, and we have fallen 11.5% from its peak. Those February 2021 numbers are so far in the distance, and now we're starting to see a correction, obviously for the fact that interest rates are going higher and the Canadian real estate market a little bit less attractive for investors. Let's go further deeper into the report and pull out some key facts to get a general understanding of what's going on. So we have here, it's the CREA's website, and they produced the November report, and let's just pull out some key facts and figures. The first one is that national home sales have declined by 3.3% month over month. The actual monthly activity came in about 38.9% below this time last year. And then the newly listed properties, they're down 1.3%. And the MLS home price index has declined by 1.4% month over month, and down 4.4% year over year. So let's take a look at this MLS home price index to get a better understanding of what the trend looks like. So we'll look at this graph here, and what we can see is how the market has performed dating back to January 2006. And we can see for the most part, the year over year trends are typically positive, meaning that the real estate prices since 2006 have been increasing. Obviously, the past couple years has sent us into an upward trajectory of which we have never seen before. This is why people are thinking that a crash is almost imminent. And we do see that in the downtrend. And we see that when these numbers do go negative, it happens to stay there for a prolonged period of time. And that is definitely what the market is showing us now, especially with such a deep decline that we've seen in these numbers. So that is where we're seeing such a far drop off, 11.5% decline in the housing prices, which are probably likely here to stay because the Bank of Canada is still moving higher, although they have issued caution that they may temporarily pause to see where things are at. Now that leads us into the deeper picture, and that was from RBC's analyst Robert Hogue. And let's figure out a little bit more about what he had to say. Ontario, BC headed for a buyer's market. And this is all despite the high interest rates. But what makes this super important is that we have not seen a buyer's market for so long. So let's go further into the report to see what we can learn and see what we can pull out here. So we have on this chart, dating back to 2004, what they consider a balanced market, meaning the number of buyers and sellers are even. And then there's a seller's market, which means there's not a lot of inventory and they can set the price. And now what we're seeing and what Robert Hogue is predicting is that we could potentially, in some markets, already be in a buyer's market. And this has not been seen since 2008, 2009. That's a long time ago. That's a long time that real estate has been in what we call a bull market. Now let's read a little bit further to see what he has to say, especially when we look at two of the biggest real estate markets in Canada. So while demand supply conditions look reasonably balanced, sales to new listings ratio at 0.5 is right in the middle of a balanced territory. This is not the case around many markets in Ontario and BC, and the conditions are favorable to buyers on the cusp becoming so in Vancouver, Victoria, Fraser Valley, Hamilton, London, Niagara, Toronto, and Ottawa, the sales to listing ratio in each of these markets is close to 0.4. And the threshold below which buyers historically have had more sway on prices. So the favor, the opportunity is now going towards the buyer. This is something that has not been seen again since 2008. That is a very long time ago. And it does give the people that are looking to buy a house a little bit more power. But obviously, right now, we happen to be in a market that is a little bit uncertain, and we're not going to know what this market looks like until the interest rates calm down, or at least we have some certain path. And obviously that all goes back to inflation. So is it a time to rush into the market? I don't know. I don't think so. But I definitely think that when the uncertainty eases, or when we start to figure out what is going to happen with the interest rates, then will be a good time to reevaluate whether to get back into the market. But again, I think what is so important when we look at this chart is that we have areas like Toronto and areas in the GTA and Vancouver that could potentially be already in this buyer's market area. And that is so important because we all know that the Canadian real estate market is overvalued. There's so many people that can't get into the market. There's so many people that will be renting for the rest of their life. We do need a correction. Unfortunately, there will be a facet of people that are hurt, that have recently bought. But at the end of the day, this is good for Canadians moving forward so that we can reset and restart. I mean, I don't know what 2023 brings in terms of where the real estate market's coming up. I wish I had a crystal ball. But I'm just going to say and finish off here is that until interest rates normalize, or until we get some type of clear path of what it looks like, that's where we can truly figure out what the price of the homes are. And that's where maybe we'll get a little bit of a bottom. But let me know what your thoughts are down below. Are you happy to see the Canadian real estate market heading in this direction? Are you happy to see that we are finally going to normalize? Or is this something that you are super concerned about, especially with variable rate interest, mortgages? Is this something that is a caution to you? Let me know your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're still here with me, hit that like button. I hope you all have a great week in the markets. Happy trading.